The po hate me cause they weren't no solving. Gunman sounds to the club said no smoking, but we bought that smoking. I'm the best of my age, no boasting. We know fanboys hate when I'm ghosting. J-last ting, no smoke, let me jump on a tech on my babes on lotion. Be up there, you don't poke him, GM's cut when the gov's approaching. Deceiving ops, they repping it.
What's going on? It's Sam. We're back at Leng Libations and today we're going to be making an espresso martini. I'm a massive coffee fan and amazingly the guys from Coffee on the Crescent, just in Hyde Park, Zach and Tim, they hooked us up with this natural Ethiopian blend. The vanilla notes in this are going to go really, really well with the espresso martini. So let's get down to making that cold brew then. Caffeine, right. So I'm sure you've seen loads of different cold brew methods. If you haven't, there are loads of different ways to do it. In true Leng Libation style, we're doing the easiest, most DIY. Need some beautifully ground coffee. Now I would recommend getting it sourced locally. You know, these times you really want to support your local businesses. First thing we need is a kiln in a jar. It wants to be nice and clean. Clean this with fairy liquid earlier. It doesn't have to have a lid either. If you've just got any jar or anything. The main thing we're doing here is just gonna put the ground coffee in there and we're gonna submerge it with water. The reason we are doing a cold brew coffee rather than a hot coffee today is because when you infuse coffee beans with hot water, you actually get a few of the bitter notes. And I want to get rid of all the bitter notes. I want a really nice, smooth, elegant kind of coffee. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to boil the kettle. Now I know this doesn't sound right, it's cold brew, blah, blah, blah. Reason we're boiling it is because we're getting out all the impurities in the water. So we're going to boil the kettle and we're going to put that water in the fridge to cool. No, it sounds like a bit of a long process, but we're not going to get any of those bitter tannins. It's just going to be really nice and smooth. So I'm going to boil the kettle. Bang! Bang, so very simply, hot water, pour it into a plastic container. That's full. So now I'm going to put this big boy in the fridge. Me and Jackie Boy have had a lot of coffee today. 4, 5, 6 or 7 coffee. Gosh, so this has been in the, it was actually in the freezer. So I had it in the freezer for about 5 minutes and it's cool. It's like room temperature. The main thing is, like I said, you don't want it hot. That's the main thing we're going for. As I said, clean kiln in a jar. If you don't have a lid, that's not the end of the world. You can just put it, if you've got one of these, put it on there. Now with cold brew coffee, if you're having just a normal coffee with it or an iced coffee, you make your batch and you kind of top it up with hot or cold water. So this is very, very strong. You're not supposed to use this in a whole coffee. I'm gonna use like half a ground bag here. So if you see that, that's solid. That's a lot of coffee in there. And as I say, you've got a litre of water. Just like that. Now one of the important things with this as well, you don't want to stir it or shake it or anything, you just want to leave it at room temperature. Now it is going to take about 24 hours to infuse, but once you got it infused it lasts for 2 weeks. So that's done. Unlike the first video, I was actually prepared this time and I blue peated it. Ba-boom! I made this 24 hours ago, lovely coffee, and we're gonna, decant it. I can't say anymore. I like that blue peter line. Jeez! Now there are a few ways to get rid of all the excess granules and stuff. I'm gonna do it a very, very basic way. Today, it might take a few more filters, but if you have a cheesecloth or if you have a coffee filter at home, I recommend using that. If you've got a coffee filter, rinse out the coffee filter with water first, because then you get rid of like the semi-paper taste that you can get with coffee filters sometimes. But I'm doing it the very, very simple way of simply funnel and filter. Because I'm doing it this way, it might take a few times to kind of get all the excess out. You want to get all the finites out. Cool, as I said, there's still quite a little bit of sediment in here. So I'm going to do the double 2-strainer approach. I had to do that process about 5 times in the end. So just be patient with it. The longer it takes, the nicer it's gonna taste. So now we've got our beautiful cold brew coffee. We are gonna make an espresso martini. You don't just have to make an espresso martini, you could do a cold coffee. If you want with this, because it's quite strong, if you put about 50 ml in a glass, top it with warm or cold water, and you've got yourself a normal coffee as well. So an espresso martini is shaken, but not everyone has a cocktail shaker at home, and we're gonna show you different ways you can shake a cocktail at home. So you've got your normal bar equipment. I've got an old tea bag thing. I've got a nice flask. You know, easy, simple, chilling. And then hold tight Calypso if you want to sponsor me, sponsor us. Main thing you want is so it's got a lid. That's it really. We're gonna make a drink with all of these and they're gonna be exactly the same. Sorted! Cool, so we're gonna go for what goes in the drink. There are 4 ingredients in espresso martini. You got your vodka, you got your cold brew coffee or your normal coffee, whatever you might have. You got your sugar syrup. Now, if you watched last week's episode, you're gonna know how to make sugar syrup. I'm not gonna run through the process today. If you need to know how to make it, check out the last video. And then finally, we've got Kahlua. Now you could have Tia Maria, you could have Mr. Black's. There's loads of different coffee liqueurs options out there. If you really like your tequila, put Cascabel in it. Beautiful, Cascabel Espresso Martini, we like that one, big boys. Right, so we're gonna start with a shot and a half of vodka. It works out as 37.5 mils. I've got a little line here. If you don't have a jigger, do it by eye. As I always say, this drink is for you. Do it to your preference, all right, guys? Really do it to your preference. So now we've got a shot and a half of vodka. I'm gonna go for half a shot of my coffee liqueur. Again, depending on what coffee liqueur you use, you might want to use more, you might want to use less. It can be quite sweet, so just watch it. I'm not a huge fan of a sweet cocktail, so I'm always a little bit wary. I'm gonna do half a shot of this, guys, half a shot of your coffee liqueur. Bing. Next up, we're gonna put our sweet element in. Last week's video, I put half a shot of sugar syrup in. That makes quite a sour drink. The coffee liqueur is already quite sweet as well. So I'm just gonna put half a shot in this. Guys, try it at home. You might wanna put more sugar syrup than I'm putting in. These are not step by step. You have to do the exact way that I'm showing you. The whole point is you're making it for yourself. You're trying to like work out what your preference is as well. I love coffee, so I'm gonna go with at least 50 ml. This is really concentrated stuff, guys. So you don't wanna go with much more than that. If it's a little strong for you, maybe pour some water in it. Lengthen it out. 6 sounds, so that's the normal one. Now we're gonna fill all of these up and we're gonna make them all at the same time. You're gonna see how you don't need these equipment. I am free pouring right now because I'm impatient, but I wanna show you how easy it is to make a shaken cocktail without having 400,000 bits of equipment, you know? 6, so I've got all the ingredients here. Now you just need to ice up your glasses, guys. The reason that we're shaking it is because we want to liven the drink up and cool it down a little bit, but we don't want it too watery. So it's a pretty quick shake. Now, we're getting onto these ones, slightly awkward. So I'm going to have to use my hands. Just going to pop them in. Boom! One more. Boom! Right, you don't want too much ice. You just want enough friction to kind of get a bit of an espresso head in there. Right, Jack, I'm going to need some milk here, mate. So you don't want to shake it too long because that'll dilute it. There you go, look at that. Beautiful. You got the foam there, everything. Right, I'm gonna put it into some nice glasses so you can tell the difference. Now, as you can see with this one I'm pouring here, it's got a much better kind of head on it. That's because I shook it a little bit longer. Now, if your cocktails haven't got a massive head and you want more of a head, you probably need to put more coffee in them. The reason you get such a massive head in cocktail bars, it's fresh espresso that they're using. Now, as you can see, the only real difference with them is this is a little bit more brown. That's only because it got shaken a little bit harder. So with all of these, you just might want to just give them a little bit of a harder shake. But as you can see, there's not too much of a crazy difference with them. They all look like lovely espresso martinis. I guess the next thing to do now is try them. Santé. Salut. Beautiful, absolutely lovely. Maybe a little bit sweet for my personal palate. If I was making these again, I'd put more coffee in and probably no sugar syrup. But the whole point is make them at home, work out what you like and then keep on making them. Switch them up, put different stuff in, you know. You could put some vanilla extract in it, you could play around with some chocolate ideas. There's really so much things you could do with cocktails. Now everyone has loads of time on their hands. I really encourage you to get involved, yeah. So that's been another episode of Leng Libations. I'm your host with the most, Sam Greedy, or host with the least. Knows. You got a bell here. You know what we need to do. Bang it! Bang the bell! And yeah, let me know what you want to see next. Hope you're enjoying the videos. Subscribe, like, and share.